There's a tie for the lead, and it's only 2 points back to third place. What a way to head into the fourth round. Simone finally got his first win of the season on the board at Suzuka, so he can carry that momentum and possibly jump back up into P1 in the points today. We'll find out soon if he can as we get ready to watch round 4 of the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Peter Mackay. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. We've arrived in the land down under at Phillip Island. Not known for F1 racing, it's still seen its fair share of cars here on the iRacing. Let's head to our track guide to learn more about it. Welcome to Phillip Island. As the name implies, this track is located on a splotch of land off the south coast of Australia near Melbourne. While there's been plenty of racing here for close to a century, the track's current incarnation has only been around since the late 80s. And this version is a doozy. With only 12 turns spread across the roughly 4.5 kilometers, it's a decently fast circuit. But what really makes this place stand apart is the incredible variety in those few corners. From negative to positive camber, early apexes, late apexes, blind crest, hairpins, sweepers, if you name it, it's probably got it. On top of that, the front stretch tends to offer up a slipstream with its incredible length, but it then forces the drivers into a game of chicken by chucking them into the frightening doing. Corners like Lukey Heights stretches a car's grip to the limit and then shocks you with a sudden downhill braking into MG. Retaining something of an old school twist, unlike most modern courses, Phillip Island has earthen embankments running along many parts of the track. While it's meant to keep the cars safely retained within the circuit's confines, anyone unfortunate enough to manage to jump them will be faced with a ton of damage for their troubles. A variety of types of racing take place at the track, including motorcycles, lower-level open-wheelers, and touring cars. Possibly the most well-known among those is the Australian Supercars Championship. With the Aussie reputation of having dangerous, difficult, and challenging circuits, Phillip Island certainly holds up to the standard. The beautiful views of the beach and the ocean may lure some of the fans in, but there's no doubt that the incredible racing at this unique track keeps them around. Well, Phillip Island, one of a handful of Australian tracks here on the iRacing service. But Peter, today we take a British car to an Australian track.
We do indeed, and we go to one of the very best tracks anywhere in the world for 2 or 4-wheeled competition. Phillip Island, based just off the coast of Melbourne. If you head south, next stop it's the South Pole, so it actually can get quite chilly here in the wintertime, but no such problem here in the sim. A beautiful flowing circuit with little few slow corners and plenty of fast corners. So the Lotus 79 with its ground effect aerodynamics, the drivers are going to have a whole lot of fun. And tipping into turn 1, you're right at the very top of top gear, and it is pretty much flat out. So it's going to be a whole lot of fun to watch these guys go and battle. And watch out for the draft as well. The draft is going to be a little bit more important than it normally is for these cars.
Certainly down that Gardner Strait up into Dewan. Now, let's take a look at the championship because, as I mentioned, it is fascinating up at the top of the points right now. It is a tie currently between Martin Granberg and Severi Seppa, and they've got Tomas Simon only 2 points behind the pair of them. Oscar Irena is still in it, but he's got to start making some inroads on them. And you've got Gernot Friesche finally find his way back up to form a little bit. He's in the top 5, and he could still make a dent on this championship. Dennis Schoening rounding out that top 5, including 6 drivers, and only 29 points between all of them. So let's, of course, take a look at the Classic Teams Championship as well. Peter, where are we sitting there?
So at the moment, it's, well, quite apt. The John Player Special Team Lotus crew sitting at the top by just 1 point from Williams Grand Prix Engineering, with Elf Team Tyrrell in 3rd. Equipe Renault Elf and Scuderia Ferrari are in 4th, with Parmalat Racing Team in 5th position.
And for today's race itself, as we mentioned, we are in round 4. It is going to be 36 laps that they'll compete out here. They go by very quickly in these cars. It's open setup, And they can get some penalties if they abuse the track limits, although there's not too many places I think they'll be able to run off here and get away with it. Drive through at 17 and an actual disqualification at 25. So as we get going on the qualifying here, Tomasz Simon currently leads that provisionally. Nicola Kochi, speaking of Team Ferrari, he's not with that team this season, but the Italian currently up in second place, so he's faring well. We're still waiting on a few big names to put times in, including Freesia and Bycroft.
So let's get Bycroft over the line then. A 1:17.830 for him. That puts him fourth right now, but there's going to be plenty of movement in the dying moments of this qualifying session. Often on the second lap, when you've got the tyres absolutely working at their 100% best, you really get those fast laps coming in when the drivers get up to. They get warmed up as well. Martin Granberg goes to 6th place with a 1:18.1. Simone goes pole, 1:17.3. 3/10 quicker than anyone. Oh, Gernot Frisch is a 1:17.5, but it didn't count.
I have seen it. It did
Oh,
count,
no,
actually.
my apologies.
He's on the front row, and he's got 2/10 to make up. You mentioned they can tend to go faster on the second lap, so Frisch has still got one to go here, and he's sitting pretty. Timothy Reed down in 15th does improve on his second time through. Let's not forget that Martin Granberg has only set his first lap. It's a 1:18.1. That was good enough for 7th. Maybe he could come back and find his way a little bit higher up the order as we watch Seppa come out of Swan Curve down to the start-finish line. It's a 17.7 for him, and a 17.8's not going to improve.
So second row at the moment for Severi Seppa. Can that move? Here comes Steve Bycroft, 1:17.6. He goes up to third, bumping Seppa onto the third row. Interesting stuff. What can Martin Granberg do? He comes to the line. Can he improve?
No, he slows.
No, he cannot. Oh, now, what about Gernot Frisch? Can we see a podium from the season stalwart in the James Hunt McLaren throwback? No, does not improve, but still on the front row. Can anyone upset the apple cart here? But for Severi Seppa, starting from the third row of the grid, Joe, that's not ideal for the Finn.
Certainly not. Bernstorff was the last to set a time. Unfortunately, his second lap looks like it did not count. That will end our qualifying with quite a bit of time left here. Let's go through the grid regardless, because it is unfortunately nailed in for anybody who hopes to improve. Tomasz Simon with another pole position. That's 2 bonus points, don't forget, with Gernot Frisch starting second today. Steve Bycroft, P3, is followed by Nicola Kochi starting P4, and Severi Seppa, the Finn, unfortunately bumped all the way to 5th. Carl Villeneuve will start P6, and Martin Granberg in 7th. Pauli Partanen will be P8. Then you've got Michael de Turk in 9th and Timo Karhalainen in 10th.
Starting on the 6th row of the grid here today at Phillip Island will be Barry West. Good qualifying from Barry, with Jukka Tolinen starting alongside Barry on the 6th row. Row 7 will see Giuseppe Leocata alongside Dennis Shanning. Row 8 will be Timothy Reed and John Stevens. Row 9 will be Pablo Suarez and Andreas Henkel. And row 10 sees Alexis Tapiavico and Emil Bernstorff.
And it's Dustin Gilliland and James Childs, our last two on this 22-car field. It is a split field today. For those not familiar with iRacing, that means that the drivers are separated into 2 separate races that happen simultaneously, and that is done by iRating, which is sort of the determination of their skill based on the results of their races over their entire career. Currently waiting for that clock to come down here the last 30 seconds. Round 4, a tie for the top. But interestingly, we don't have Granberg up at the top, and we don't have Seppa up at the top. So what kind of jumbling around are we going to see today, Peter?
Yeah, and then also hold into that as well, no sign of Oskari Rinna either. Of course, one of our front runners so far in the championship in a number of races. So the one thing about Phillip Island is that by nature, you do get a lot of bunch racing. You get a lot of drivers able to go in quite big packs together. And there is such a great opportunity to overtake down into the Honda hairpin. You go through the fast left of stoners, and then you can just sort of sit on the shoulder of your rival and dive up the inside and pull off the block pass into Honda. So I think we've seen, I'm not going to say processional, we've just seen some really strong performances out front with the very much established leaders so far in the season. But I think today at Phillip Island, we're going to see a few more characters up there at the front.
And actually, I mean, if we're going to want to go by technicalities, we now have a three-way tie for the lead, because remember, 2 bonus points for Simone for putting it on pole. Well, he was only 2 points behind Granberg and Seppa, so they're all on 112 points before we get to the checkered flag today. And so far, it's looking good for Tomasz, who has the opportunity to overtake them in the points from here as long as he finishes ahead of them. Just a few more cars to grid up. We got about 4 more to find their way out there, including most of our front runners. We're waiting on Frisia, Simone, and Seppa. See Bycroft already out there along with Kochi, looking for our front row to eventually put the setup in the car and hit that grid button here in the iRacing Sim for round 4 of the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series. Frisia now puts it out. They do have quite a bit of time. It's about 30 more seconds before they are forced to start from pit lane, and there they are, everybody out there. So the engines start to rev. The lights come up here at Phillip Island. Green flag is out. Simone looks decent off the start. Oh, and the second row is horrible. Steve Bycroft already getting swamped, and Kochi almost looks like he's going to lose a place here. As to his right side, Seppa trying to overtake. It's not quite going to work otherwise as they come through Dewan down into the southern loop. The first time hitting the brakes, it's all clean.
Yeah, that wasn't ideal at all for Severi Seppa. He was on the 3rd row of the grid and balked by that slightly slow start from both cars on the 2nd row. Good spot there, Joe, but brilliant start from Thomas Simone, our pole sitter, with Gernot Fritzsche right in behind him. Oh, we've got a bowling ball. Oh, goodness me. Now, oh God, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 cars off at the southern loop. Oh, sorry, my fault. Yes, at the southern
at Honda.
Loop. At Honda, sorry. I knew I was right the first time.
We'll come back to it, but I can tell you that it looks like it was started by Michael de Turk, unfortunately, making a little bit of contact. We'll try and analyze that later. We're already finishing lap 1 in just a few moments as they plunge through MG, and it's Simone leading the multi-time champion Gernot Fritzsche, and they've gapped themselves by almost a second to Steve Bycroft. Let's see how much the draft is worth here.
Yeah, this is going to give us a good impression of what we can expect. Of course, Phillip Island, this is the setup is going to be really, really important because there's so many really fast corners where high aerodynamics, high drag is going to help you. But of course, down the Gardner Straight, looking towards the Bash Straight, which is a bit of sea off the other end. You don't want to land in there, of course. That is where, obviously, a more trimmed out car is going to help. That's always the compromise, and where the endless practice during the week is really, really important. But Thomas Simone holding strong. It actually looked there, Joe, that Gernot Fritzsche didn't really gain any time at all going down the straight. So interesting that maybe he was doing that quite willingly, but we'll see as the race progresses how much the draft's going to make an effect.
Yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on it. Meanwhile, we do have that replay ready. Let's see if we can figure out what happened with de Turk, because I think he just outbroke himself from the little bit I could look at it. Here's the number 13, and in front of him, going to get into the Ferrari of, I believe that is Granberg. Oh, that's our points leader.
Oh, God. Oh, dear. That's well, that is in a very, very typical Honda hairpin accident on lap 1 at Phillip Island. We see it all the time in both 2 and 4-wheeled racing here. On cold tyres, cold brakes, it's just so easy to do. And of course, all the drivers trying to jostle for position and not lose the front pack. There's that kind of air of desperation at that point, because if you lose the front group, you're in big trouble. And well, that was an awkward one.
We saw Granberg sitting in 21st out of 22 cars at the end of lap 1. I'm sure he's hoping he can pull a Perez here today, but it's not looking likely currently. Meanwhile, as we look at our leaders, it's up to 7 tenths between Simone and Fritzsche, so he seems to have the legs over his rival let's jump a little bit back behind them to third, fourth, and fifth, rather, because Seppa, Kochi, and Bycroft have been quite close together. We're watching from the fifth place driver, Seferi Seppa, appropriately numbered number 5 today.
Yeah, a great impression of just how fast as they come over Lukey Heights, named after Len Lukey, who owned the circuit here from 1962 to 1978, and just look how you chuck the car in there using the camber at the bottom of MG hairpin, and then round we go, round to turn 11 and finally turn 12. Absolutely flat out in this car, using all of those ground effect aerodynamics. Look at the speed, 250 kilometers an hour. Down the straight we go. Now, we watched Seferi Seppa, we know he likes a car that's, he doesn't mind it being a little bit loose, and even then, Joe, just only a marginal amount of slipstream benefit there for Seferi.
I think we had an issue for Carl Villeneuve, but it looks like a self-spin. Don't need to go to it. Unfortunately, he went off, hit something, and then is in pit lane with a blown engine, so he is done for the day. Now, Freesia continues to lose. It's down to 9/10 of a second, and Bycroft is gaining. I'd say that Freesia is starting to slip into the clutches of the cars that he does not want to be near here. They come out of Siberia up to the higher portion of the circuit, and Bycroft can tell probably visually that he is continuing to reel in that number 1.
The critical thing is, as well, is that Thomas Simone there, the number 2, our leader, he'll be looking in his mirrors, and when he sees Gernot Freesia having problems at the hands of Bycroft and possibly Kochi and Seppa as well, that's exactly what Thomas Simone needs to try and break away, and he'll be really trying to lay down those qualifying sectors, those purple sectors right now, to try and break the back of this group, because if he can then control the race from there. But Bycroft really on the move, Joe, as you say. You don't even need to look at the timing screen. He's really closing in strong, but we know Gernot Freesia, he's a wily character, isn't he? He's you never know, he might just be keeping his powder dry for later on.
That's true, could be preserving the tires. Let's head back to Pauli Partanen, though. He's under threat from Barry West, up 1 position from the start, which is, we should have credited a very good qualifying for Barry West here in top split, and seeing if he could get himself a little bit higher up the top 10. We ride on board with Pauli, looking back at Barry, down into Honda corner, a little too wide there for the Finn. He's going to open up the door, but he's on the left-hand side as it switches back into Siberia, fends him off. And I'm amazed that he got away with that, because he looked like he was all out of sorts.
Yeah, he was lucky the next corner was a left-hander, because if it were a right, he would have lost that position. It was just a switch back there and was able to just about cover off Barry. Like you say, yeah, very good qualifying from Barry West, running up in the top 10, and he's going to have a look at MG. That's a classic manoeuvre here at Phillip Island, and it doesn't quite pull it off as we ride on board the Parmalat Brabham of Shanning with the David Hill helmet as well, which I have to say I do like that. That's a nice touch as well. But riding on board with Shanning, is there much of a draft effect?
Oh yeah, there is.
Oh, well, for Barry, yes, Barry's got an absolute missile down the straight, whereas Shanning didn't really seem to gain anything at all. So you've obviously got to be pretty close to the car in front, and look at that. Interesting there that Partanen made it look quite easy there on the brakes and under turning, so perhaps that Barry's got that car absolutely trimmed out.
I'd say so, because he got all sorts of loose coming through Duin and had to catch the car. Not a place where you want it to lose control. Once again, deep into Honda for the 2nd lap in a row for Partanen. Once again, manages to hold on to that 9th place. This is getting very, very tense here. And once again, loose off the corner for the number 17 of Barry West, just finding the tires not willing to give the grip he desires.
Yeah, the turn 1, named after the great Mick Doohan, 5 times motorcycle Grand Prix champion, and he was the bravest man who has ever lived. And you kind of have to be pretty brave to tuck it into turn 1 flat, especially if you've got that car really trimmed out. It can get really twitchy and squirrely there, as we saw with Barry West. And interestingly, I think that Partanen has got that car set up for the turns, and Barry West, he's built himself a bit of a dragster for this race.
Well, it's not going to help him here, because he is way far back. So It'll help him regain some of the time. Oh, and something happened. Kochi is off, and so is Seppa. Wow. That means that both drivers that Shimon was trying to overtake in the points have now had a poor race, and this is 2 separate incidents. Look at this.
Oh, well, when Kochi lost it, we just saw Severi Seppa there at the back of shot, just got unsighted just got up unsighted slightly. It just took his attention, and it does not take much to just take your eyeline off, and he had a little wiggle there as he saw Kochi lose it, a tiny portion of the tyre on the grass, and round he went. That is massive for the championship, Joe.
Shimon's going to have a huge gap after this one. Now, we need to remind our viewers there are drop weeks that will come into play later on in the season, but if you're wasting them this early, it's going to make life difficult later down the line. Simone in the number 2 continues to run off good laps here at the front. There you see him on screen into doing. You know, it's funny, not being much of a motorcycle racing fan, I did not know how to pronounce the name, and I had Australians correct me after a few broadcasts as I had Americanized it to Doohan.
I'm sure, given that he was a pretty fierce competitor, understatement of the weekend there, I'm sure he was called a lot worse by some of his rivals, especially when he won 5 championships in a row. He wasn't everyone's favourite guy, but my goodness me, he is one of the absolute all-time greats, was Mick Doohan, and he's gone on to make himself a fine fortune in the business world as well. Shows you that being competitive in sport does transfer over into business.
Right now, we're right on board with Steve Bycroft. Very good day for Steve, who seems to blow hot or cold depending on where he is and what sort of track he's at. Today seems to like Phillip Island because he's been pressurizing Gernot Frische for that second spot for multiple laps now. We ride on his helmet cam here around Swan Curve onto the front stretch. Let's see if he's got a more trimmed out car than Frische. They start to pick up speed, 165. 170 miles an hour, 280 kilometers an hour. He's gaining on him, but he runs out of straightaway.
Yeah, Steve Bycroft, the man from the Indiana club. So, man who knows a thing or two about trimming out a race car to go quick as well. And to go through the 9th lap, heading down towards, this is Stoner Corner, 170 miles an hour in the hands of Casey Stoner before he retired, down towards Honda. A good opportunity to pass there if you can get alongside. You can go for the block pass on the brakes. But brilliant, I tell you what though, Joe, what's amazing me here is Steve Bycroft is just how tidy he is. This car is not out of shape at all.
Considering he's in the wake of Gernot as well, the car just looks absolutely planted. That might be what's causing him trouble in overtaking though. We haven't talked much about the wake yet today, but there are plenty of fast corners.
Yeah, that's true. That is a very good point. We're not seeing anyone get too close in the bends to the car in front, as we see Gernot Frische getting a good exit there out of turn 11 and now into turn 12, but a little bit more hesitant in turn 12 there from Frische up ahead in the Marlboro McLaren. So here comes Bycroft now. How many car lengths can he pull up? It's about 3 at the moment. 2, 1. Can he have a look? He's in the mirror. Oh. He's certainly getting close, but look at him wash out there, Joe. That is a great example there of that aerodynamic wake that basically flows out the back of the car in front, which really disturbs the aerodynamics, and that really affected Steve Bycroft there going through Doohan.
We had a change for position as Nicola Kochi got by Dennis Shaning for 10th position and is looking to try and gain his way back forward after an unfortunate start to this race. And he's already on Barry West as they come up to Honda. Round the outside, Barry tries to defend, but it is all for naught. Easy pass for the number 6. Oh, and they're going to go by another. Who is that? That's Timothy Reed off course.
Tell you what, this is a drive of the season so far from Barry West up to 8th position. Well, he'll be, we always have Barry in to have a chat with us afterwards, and he's got a brand new microphone, Joe, so we will be able to chat to Barry and ask him all about this fantastic drive here. And the thing is, Phillip Island, this is a driver circuit. You can't, it's not a fickle circuit. It is one you've got to be absolutely on top of your game And Barry is certainly doing that today, holding off Shanning behind him. Kochi up ahead in 7th in the other Alfa Romeo Brabham, sponsored by Parmalat, the world's fastest yogurt or dairy product. As well as they head back down the Gardner Straight, down towards Doon. And do you know that, Joe, that the Phillip Island has an incredible population of penguins?
I did know that, actually.
Yeah.
I think it'd be cool if they've already got the bird model that everyone likes to poke fun at. They need to put some penguins off on the beach. Meanwhile, from above, we're watching De Turk ahead of Reed and Hankel. This has been incredibly close among this group. They did have those behind him much tighter as well, Suarez, Leokada, and Bernstorff. How about Emil here? Qualified 20th. He's up to 15th. I'm not sure how many cars he's actually passed, though, as we've seen so many drivers off course or running into one another.
Yep, but that's the key. A lot of the time in these, especially in these Grand Prix cars, they're so fast and so difficult to drive that it's all about just keeping those mistakes to a minimum, and you never know what you can pick up now as we see Pablo Suarez and Joyce Lakota battling away into MG. Such a difficult corner because you're coming over Lukey Hats very, very fast. But here comes Bycroft, once again gets a brilliant run down the Gardner Straight, but just can't quite hang on to get the move done. And I think maybe Gernot Frisch has got a little bit more wing in that car, a little bit higher downforce setup. He just drives away from Bycroft in the turns. Bycroft's got the edge on the straight. This is going to be interesting to see who's got the best compromise towards the end of the race, as already we're at 1/3 distance.
Yeah, I think just a 10th quicker out of one of the corners, and Bycroft could have a good go at things. Question is, can he actually make it stick once he does? He'll certainly have to be brave if he has a pass attempt at it. Up through Hayshed into Lukey Heights. I'm keeping half an eye on this and half an eye on the battle between Shaning and Barry West, because that is staying close. Once again, down into MG, and you can see how frustratingly close that Bycroft gets, but then it starts to open up once again, coming through the fast final 2 corners out of Swan and onto the front stretch. He's 4/10 back. This does look mildly closer. This could be a good shot. We're on the nose of the number 3. He's gaining. It's down to 3/10, or 3 car lengths, 2 car lengths, and it's back to where he always is, just tantalizingly close through Doon.
A bit of a moment there from Bycroft. Oh, bigger moment there from Gernot Frisch, and that's what it's going to take. Not even a mistake, a 10% of a mistake, and that's all that needs. And Bycroft's got the bit between his teeth now. Round stone as they go. There's an opportunity here, and look at that. Gernot Frisch spots it, covers it off, saying, I know what you're going to try. This isn't my first rodeo. So he just knew that was the opportunity there, and just goes across the cover. Well recovered there from Gernot Frisch. But it seems to me that one thing that's just keeping Gernot Frisch ahead here, Joe, is when they come out of the MG hairpin, that uphill first gear or possibly second gear drive off. It looks like Gernot Frisch has got brilliant off-corner drive grip, and that's just allowing him to build that margin between him and Bycroft in the number 3 car.
It really is. Here it is right here. Let's watch him. Oh, no, did Bycroft get off? Well, no, it's the penultimate corner. Look at him lose through there. He just loses grip and falls back. Meanwhile, we've got to go back to Shaney. Now, I think he's managed to get by West.
Yep, Barry West now back to 10th after previously being up in 8th spot, but he's right there in the pack, right there in the fight with Dennis Shanning. And don't forget that Barry West has got a bit of a rocket on the straight as well as they go through. He makes sure he stays in the slipstream, and Shanning's worried about it. He's moving around on the straight, trying to break that toe. Look at Barry West's car. Goodness me, Cosworth DFV and a half. Through he goes, and that is, whoa, and then gets a big moment there through.
Oh, but he's going to lose out.
And he's just hung out to dry. He's just got no grip. Well, Barry West has built himself a top fuel dragster, no aero in it at all. The other guys just blow by him on the straights, but tell you what, it's a really raceable car he's got.
De Turk manages to get himself into 9th with that, has to play defense down into Honda. Timothy Reed and Hankel back behind them, watching this all happen, wondering if they could get an opportunity to join the fun themselves. And Shaning back to where he got this spot last lap, up through Hayshed into the S's here and into Lukey Heights. That's where he claimed it. But he's already got Michael the Turk, who seems to have a pretty quick car of his own. The 13 closing in a little bit.
Yeah, look at this train just forming now as well. Who has got the edge here? And for Barry West, he's got, this is actually reminds me of in the motorcycle racing world when you've got a group of maybe a Yamaha, a Honda and a Ducati, and the Ducati's just got so much power on the straight, and down the back straight here, down the Gardner straight, it's just so obvious. And Barry just losing a little bit out the final corner there, but look at him just dragging in here, just down towards turn 1, and that's what he needs to see, is the two guys in front, Shannon and the Turk, having a bit of a punch-up so he can catch up. But an intriguing battle here at the front as well, but still Gernot Fritzsche able to keep Steve Bycroft behind so far. And yeah, it's amazing just how much extra grip that Gernot Fritzsche has in that final sector coming out of MG and through turn 11 and turn 12, and that's where he gets that comfort margin. And it's a comfort margin of about 5 car lengths, then all of a sudden it's no car lengths by the time they're at turn 1.
He's got to be at least a little bit nervous, I imagine. By the way, we had not only Turk overtake Shaning, but Kochi managed to get 6 over Partanen as well. So 2 changes at the same corner in the same lap, one after the other. He is closer. It's only 3/10 coming off the corner. This is the best shot we've seen for him coming to the southern loop. Is he willing to try and chuck it in, or will he get the desired line? Fritzsche, he holds off to the right, but still nothing from Bycroft as the 3 just can't outbreak him into that corner.
Oh, Fritzsche was so smart there. He really, really was. He covered the line absolutely perfectly without compromising the corner speed. That's so clever. But here they go now through. Oh, now there is an opportunity there. Don't be surprised to see Bycroft perhaps have a lunge there later in the race, especially if Fritzsche make any kinds of mistake coming through Stoners or just before that at the southern loop. So, oh, this is just a fascinating battle, isn't it, Joe? And the thing that also I love about this is you wouldn't get this with a fixed setup formula. With an open setup formula, you get the drivers dialing their car in slightly differently, and that gives us this intriguing battle.
Absolutely, and I think this is a credit to that open setup formula as well, because these are both very fast drivers. So it's not really the setup that makes the difference in finding this top speed. It's just these guys know how to wheel what they put on the car, and I don't think we're going to see it this time, as Bycroft was farther back coming out of Swan. He's going to gain, has become tradition so far in this race, and gain. Oh, he's very close, though. He does take a peek. Still just trying to get himself in the mirrors.
He nearly pulled off the Valentino Rossi special there. He's got a signature move, comes through Duins, and then just dives up the inside with a block pass into the southern loop. That's a little bit easier to do on a 2-wheeled motorcycle than it is on a wide, super wide track 4-wheel Formula 1 car as well. But you can tell what Steve Bycroft is thinking. He's trying to maybe just do a couple of dress rehearsals, just thinking, right, where can I actually make this move without taking over, well, too many chances, if you like. And also, of course, the pressure as well applying to Gernot Fritzsche. His other option is to force Fritzsche into a mistake. Quite an unlikely outcome, but the fact that he's there certainly making Fritzsche think about it.
I have to agree, and honestly, that'd probably be my approach too. Just kind of stick it right there. Keep trying to make little moves to make him nervous enough that eventually he'll crack. He's once again going to reel him in from that half a second back. Let's give a quick nod as well. Let's keep the cameras here, but Timo Karhalainen, who is currently in 4th, has been running a very quiet race back there, but is kind of, well, he was in no man's land. I think he's pulling along Tolanen as well, it appears. It's like 2 Renaults in a line. Or is that an ATS? I need to take a closer look here.
That's the factory Renault. I actually had a Scalextric car that looked like this, in fact, as well.
It is.
The motor made a very strange smell when you ran it for too many laps as well. I don't know if the real life Renault did the same thing. I don't know, but it's a brilliant looking car. I have to say, it's nice and easy to spot out there on track. And of course, a very similar livery to what the Renault Formula One team have used for quite a while. But of course, or this season, I should say, they'll be in beautiful Alpine blue, which is, I think, one of the best liveries you could have on a race car.
I believe this is when Renault was working on their turbo. So yes, they did have a distinct smell because they kept blowing up in this time. Meanwhile, Henkel and the number 18 has gone off course and lost all his hard work. In fact, multiple positions went by as he slid off in Siberia. Here's the replay.
Yep, let's have a look then what happened to the number 18 car. Whoop, Andreas Henkel just having a little bit of a twirl away there. Actually a similar livery, although it's a classic livery, very similar livery to the Shell V-Power livery on Scott McLaughlin's IndyCar at St. Petersburg, actually. Just sort of a little bit of a throwback there, or a little bit of a forward. What would it be? Throw forward, perhaps?
Yeah, something like that. I think that's a Ferrari livery that he's got on there, actually, of some sort. Not from the year that we've got in the Classic Teams Championship, but it does appear to be of that era in Formula One. Meanwhile, we've got a battle for 9th place. It is Shaney, West, and Reed that have still not split apart. They come through Siberia up the hill. They're losing touch to Michael de Turk in front of them, who I'm sure would love to see the battle erupt between the trio.
Yep, Michael de Turk will be looking to keep pressing that distance, and he'll hopefully be, if that battle does erupt behind him, he will be able to clear off and maybe just in the closing lap spark up a Villager Kilo cigar to celebrate his top 8 run.
As they come onto the main straight. Now Barry West is shown to be very quick in a straight line. Let's see if he can run down Shaney. He drifts all the way out as that car slides, but look at him, already reeling him in.
Yeah, Shaney saw that one coming, didn't he? He's thinking, no, not this time, Barry. But that is unbelievable, the difference. But now he's going to get found out. Whoa, through they go. Hangs on to it. And just look at the advantage that Shaney's got there in corner speed. Whoa. But there's now... well held there from Barry West. My goodness me, what a big moment. And actually, he's scared off. That's one way to keep the 2 cars behind you. Just have big, massive oversteer moments, and they're thinking, whoa, I'm giving you a nice safe distance.
And I can tell you, went back and checked, 10 miles an hour faster at the last point on the straight. That is how much Barry West has trimmed this thing out and is really going for gusto here. It's worked this time. He's up to 9th. Can he start to run down to Turk? I guess the good news is once they get to the straight, Shaney really is not going to have much of an answer for him.
No, I wouldn't think so. In theory, there shouldn't be. We'll see. It depends how, of course, Barry will not be able to get the same run through turn 11 and 12 that Shanning will. So Shanning will be on his gearbox, but this is going to be a great study to how important the draft is. I actually thought Shanning was going to try and dive bomb him there to try and slow down a little bit, but can Barry pull away with it?
He is.
He's actually... Wow. So Shanning is in the draft and losing speed. So Barry West, he's... I think he's just left the wing in the garage. This is absolutely extraordinary.
Yeah, Shaney was only, less than a car length behind him coming off the corner and still lost time. You would have thought he'd been perfectly in the pocket and been able to at least get something out of it. So Barry West just has to survive these portions of the lap and get to the straightaway and run away from them. Let's also not forget that Seppa, on his climb back forward, is currently in 12th and now rocked his way up to this group. So it's now become a 4-car fight. I was watching Bycroft. He took another little look on Freesia last time by into the Southern Loop, and he's going to have another chance at that. Oh, no.
Barry. Oh, well, he was walking the tightrope, wasn't he? That corner, Lukey Heights, could not be more of a tightrope. It's just all of the grip goes away. In fact, the car gets very light over there. Oh, no. Poor Barry. Well, that, unfortunately, is the trade-off with the setup. If you're going to run it really trimmed out, it makes the car very, very loose. And, oh, what a run that was, Joe. I'm gutted for him.
Yeah. Meanwhile, that was Seppa managing to move up to 10th now. 2 spots in 1 lap with West off, Reed overtaken. All that's left for him is to get by Shaning, and then he's got to run down to Turk. Also worth noting that Bycroft has been repeatedly been looking to the inside now. I was watching that, and once again, he had a go at it. And again, this is important because we're down to, it looks like 15 laps left to go, 14 this time by at the line. And I think Bycroft is starting to think it's time to make moves. It's time to start doing something on this.
Yeah, he's got to try and keep applying the pressure. And of course, for Gernot Fritzsche, we know he's very cool, calm and collected, but only for so long. 23 laps of constant pressure, especially on the straight when there's nothing you can do about it. That's the thing, is that when someone gets a run on you on the straight, you are pretty defenseless, unless you want to throw some dirty blocks. But you don't see that in this at the top level here in the Lotus 79 Grand Prix series. Is Bycroft, that's a dress rehearsal if I've ever seen one there. Just seeing where he would need to brake, where he'd need to have a look at Honda hairpin coming through from the exit of Casey Stoner corner. Round they go up towards the hay shed. What a beautiful facility.
Let's go to Seppa. Oh, wow. Big moment for Seppa and Shaning. And that's battle's not over because Shaning now has Reed to his outside, at least for Stoner. Going to be the inside into Honda. He has to outbrake him to get this one done. And the 15 seals the deal. Let's get a replay of how this started because Seppa made a brave move and passed around the outside of the southern loop. This is an off-camber corner. I didn't think this was possible.
Oh, Ricky Bobby, eat your heart out. My goodness me, that was... Whoa. I don't think I've ever seen that done before, Joe, I must be honest.
I don't think I have either.
No, that's quite amazing. But Severi Seppa, that's his... To be fair, Severi Seppa is out of sequence here after that little incident and spinning and going down the field early on. He does have more pace, but even so, Shanning et al., they are no slouches. Make no mistake about that.
Yeah, I mean, to do it even on a slower car, you got to execute. And when you're off the line, it is so slippery through there. As we now have another pass potentially. Shaning trying to get it back from Reed. And he doesn't have enough straight line speed. Reed's going to hold him off. In fact, defends down to the inside and said, you got to pull the same move out someone pulled on you if you want to get this one done.
Tell you what, Shanning's got some great mid-corner grip though as well. That car is locked down, that Parmalat Brabham. There we go, round Casey Stoner corner. Can he make a lunge on the brakes? No, tell you what. The number 15 of Reed, really good on the brakes. Also just keeping Shanning behind. And they're probably going around this corner here at Siberia thinking, how on earth did he do that on the last lap?
Yeah, he's probably having to take notes and at least try it in practice. I don't know if he's willing to do that risky of a move here in the race itself. But we got a smoking car. Well, this is DeTurk. DeTurk has blown his engine.
Either that or he's lit a Villager Keel cigar. Oh no, that's a blown engine. That's a, well, I mean, you don't see very often a Cosworth DFV blown up.
I wonder if he's got an H pattern shifter and he just put it in the wrong gear. That's highly unusual. Well, that's another spot for a number of drivers. Seppa up to 8th, Reed up to 9th, and Shaning up to 10th now.
Oh dear. Well, that's it. Like you say, something we don't see very often, but my goodness me, what an absolute exhibition drive this has been from Thomas Simon in the Gilles Villeneuve throwback Ferrari. What a great looking car that is as well. A man with the most amazing all-attack driving style. I think Gilles would have approved of some laps in a ground effect Formula 1 car at Phillip Island.
Oh, absolutely. They would have jumped at the chance. The number 2 with an 8-second lead over Fritzsche. And that's not really due to battling. He sets another fastest lap while he's at it. Bycroft and Fritzsche really haven't gone side by side all that much. So this is just sheer pace. Meanwhile, we have had some side by side between these two, Reed and Shaning, down into MG. Not able to get wheel to wheel this time. Trying to get the power down. We ride on board with Dennis. The number 16 going to get a nice tow down the front stretch.
Yeah, let's see what Shanning's got in the pocket here. Reed just getting a tiny little moment, just getting that last bit of power. Here he goes then, he's got a bit of a run down underneath the start-finish line, looking all the way down to the back straight. Next stop, the South Pole. Through there, and as they head through, just Shanning didn't quite have enough pace, but Reed's gone very, very deep into the southern loop, tucks it back in. Great corner speed there as well, but tell you what, Joe, Severi Seppa in 8th spot in the number 5 car. It's been a brilliant recovery drive from him.
I'm sure he would have liked to have been higher up. He started in 5th, so he's still not to where he gridded up for this race. Still, he's kind of making lemonade today. As you see behind him, it remains close between Reed and Shaney. I can report that Deturk has officially retired. We have lost 4 cars out of the 22 today. Deturk, Gilliland, Villeneuve, and Vico.
Another fastest lap of the race from Thomas Simone. He's broke the 1:18 barrier. That is super fast here at Phillip Island. Now, Bycroft now getting very cozy with Gernot Fritzsche in the bend. So, is this the closest we've seen? I think it is. Apart from down the straightaway, round we go then towards Honda hairpin.
To tell you the pace that Shimon has over these others, his quickest lap of a 17.9 is 4/10 quicker than the quickest lap of Fritzsche, which he just set at an 18.3. He is just destroying the field today.
That's in this level of field, that's a massive advantage there as well. It can't be underestimated just how impressive that is. And right now, Joe, we know that obviously Thomas Simone, a series regular like Fritzsche and Bycroft are, but are we seeing Thomas Simone really putting his stake in the ground, saying, I am the championship favourite at this stage?
He certainly will be after today's race. He's going to overtake Granberg and Seppa by a wide margin. Granberg's still down in 12th, and we mentioned Seppa up to P8 today. Meanwhile, these two, as they come down the front stretch one more time, Bycroft is getting real sick of looking at that Marlboro on the back wing.
Yeah, he's down. I wonder if it'll influence his decision when he's at the newsagents picking up some a 20-pack. He'll be thinking, no, I'll have some Johnny Blair spec instead, please.
Let's go to Tolanen and Kochi. Kochi's run down Yuka, and he's going to look to the left side, but he loses grip and has to catch the car. Nicola Kochi, another one on a recovery. He's back up to 5th after starting 4th. Drops back a little bit out of the southern loop, but I think this one's going to be a matter of time.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is, we've got Alfa Romeo chasing Renault. Which engine is going to blow up first? Thankfully, they've replaced it with. They've been cheeky. They've left their unreliable turbo motors in the garage, and they fitted a reliable Cosworth DFE. Oh my goodness me! That was just Constantinian together there at Siberia, and we've got a yogurt sandwich here with the Parmalat in the middle.
Whoa! Sending it in deep down into MG. It's surprisingly rare that you see successful passes into that hairpin, but Kochi doesn't care about the stats. He's on through into 4th and saying, nobody is holding me back.
That was a MotoGP move, that one. That's for sure. That was a fantastic maneuver. It is possible, but my goodness me, do you have to commit 100%? And to be honest, you need the driver you're overtaking to be polite as well, but didn't have it for long, did he, Joe?
No.
Oh, goodness me, this is getting very, very spicy here. 8 laps to go at Phillip Island. Whew. Who's going to take this one in this little battle here?
So Tolanen says, thank you very much for the slipstream. And I'm going to take that right back, but Kochi takes a peek down into Honda. Oh, and he's going to scare him off the racing line. He manages to take the apex away, but once again, we see that switch back into Siberia. Compromise him? Doesn't matter. He's going to go the long way around. And once again, Tolanen is the one that blinks and falls out of grip. He winds up in P5. Now, last time this didn't work so hot for Kochi. He's got to start to pull away, or else I think that slipstream is going to make another easy pass for the 21 car.
Look at Carolinen and with the black helmet, the second of the two yellow Renaults. He's just keeping a little bit of a distance, saying, "Oh, I am not getting involved in this. I will just sit here and watch you guys knock lumps out of each other, and I'll wave on the way past." My goodness me! So down we go then through turn 12, the final bend down the Gardner Straight, named after the great Wayne Gardner, the 1987 500cc motorcycle world champion for Rothman's Honda. As we look and see the 21 car of Tolonen going, hanging it around the outside. He'll get the inside for the southern loop. Really has that, really hang tough. But Kochi meets him halfway and says, "I can hang tough with the best of them, boy." And there he goes, snatches it back, but it's not done yet. Wait till they get down to Stoners. Into Stoner Corner they go towards Honda Hairpin, and very cleverly, Kochi sees that he needs to cover the inside.
That fends off Yuka for that corner. Still, he's got half a lap to try and pull some gap between himself to keep Yuka from repeatedly attacking. And look at the extra pace off the corner. Just leaves him in the dust for the teammates to fight amongst themselves.
Yep, absolutely. And now he's got an opportunity to try and break away. Does Kochi in fourth place. Whoa, big oversteer there, going over Lukey Heights. It's like going off the edge of a cliff there. If you've ever seen the video of a motorbike rider headbutting a seagull, that was the corner which that happened in. If you've not seen that before, it's worth a look, unless you're a lover of seagulls, of course. Anyway, we can come over the straight. 6 laps to go now. Has Kochi able to just hang on down into doing? Yes, that's critical. He's able to keep the two Renaults behind him as they head into the southern loop. And I hear, Joe, we've lost Barry West, sadly.
He's still running, but he ran into the earthen barrier coming out of Siberia, so I'm not sure how damaged the car is. The 17 is now in 17th after looking at a potential top 10.
Oh, what a pity. It really was spectacular to watch, was Barry, that car with the what seemed like the Indianapolis aero kit. It was absolutely extraordinary, but must have been a real handful in the corners, and just going over Lukey Heights, a very difficult corner, just lost it. But great run, best run of the season so far from Barry West.
Credit to the Renault pair. They're making this a fight and are not dropping away from Kochi. Oh, and Kochi's going to make a mistake at the time that he just does not want to make a mistake out of MG. Now Tolonen is all the closer, and since he's quicker in a straight line from what we've seen, Kochi is going to be very susceptible. Which side is he going to choose? So far, he's been very strong around the outside of corners. He puts it right in the middle, forces Tolonen to figure out which way he wants, and he picks the left side of the track. It'll be the outside of Duen, but the inside of the southern loop. Last time Kochi was able to defend, pinches him down, and as they come out of the turn, it's a drag race up to Honda Corner. Who's it gonna be?
Oh, Kochi has really got some guts. They bang wheels going through Stoner Corner. That's so fast there. Who's going to be latest on the brakes? Tolonen very, very hard on the brakes. Locks up slightly, and Kochi goes by. Interesting there. Tolonen was just that little bit harder on the brakes initially, but then Kochi got by him by the end of the braking zone. Interesting stuff. And well, I tell you what, Joe, coming back to MG there, Kochi did an amazing job to catch that moment, because he was fully sideways.
See if he can keep it safer this time through the corner, braking down into the right-hander. That looks a lot smoother. That'll make his life that much easier here coming onto the Gardner Straight once again.
Yeah, he's got, look at that gap he's got now. Just getting that good drive out of MG is absolutely critical through turn 11 and 12, and more than enough of a gap as they go over the strike. 4 to go here at Phillip Island. This has been well, we're always treated to good racing here at Phillip Island, whether it be in the sim or in the real world on 2 or 4 wheels. And it's just one of these fantastic natural circuits. Been in place since 1956, one of the oldest permanent tracks in the world.
And it even had a few renditions before that. I believe it was a street circuit. Meanwhile, Bernstoff, who continues to move forward, is fighting against Timothy Reed. This almost makes me think that Bernstoff's qualifying pace maybe was not representative. Must have had a mistake on the first lap or just not been up to speed, as he's already looking for the overtake, sends it in deep down. Oh, but they're going to come together and a little bit of a rude shove to send the 15 to the outside of Honda.
That was a lunge and a half, wasn't it? My goodness me, that was a big, deep move there for Bernstoff. Very, very aggressive indeed. Yep, so let's go back to Gernot Fritzsche, and this man, he is just ice cold. He is not, what's cooler than being cold? Gernot Fritzsche.
You don't win multiple championships without having some nerves of steel. I think Fritzsche has certainly earned them. As Steve Bycroft once again gets within about a car length down into the braking of Honda corner. Almost wonder if Steve has maybe just kind of said, well, the third place is going to be good, at least for the championship. Let's bring this thing home.
You would like to think so. But we know racers, don't we, Joe? It's just no matter if it's for 18th or 1st or 35th, you know that a racer's going to go for it. I'm sure Bycroft will try to take the opportunity, but the thing is, an opportunity really hasn't presented itself yet. Gernot Fritzsche has not given Bycroft that opportunity. He's seen the 10% of a mistake being made, but virtually nothing at all. But look at now, Bycroft's got a good run here. He's quite close by. Can he make this move into turn one? We know how strong Gernot Fritzsche is when we get to the turn. But as they come towards the southern loop, can Bycroft finally make the lunge? The Rossi move? No, not quite. And Gernot Fritzsche is just so good mid-corner.
Wow, that was about as close as we've seen. Sad news that Timothy Reed has spun off. I think that also unfortunately made contact with Leo Cotta, and he hit the wall. Both of them able to continue, but with significant damage. Fritzsche has been able to withstand Bycroft up to this point. Bycroft, though, at least poking his nose once again. I'm kind of with you that I'm shocked that Steve hasn't just said, okay, let's chuck it in and see what happens. But there is a lot of respect between these two drivers. Anytime we talk to them, we always, and something happens, it tends to be, oh, well, I know that he didn't mean it. And we try to make sure and race fair and clean.
Absolutely. We see that across all of the classic races that we have here over the weekend on the Global SimRacing Channel. The Lotus 49s, we had a great tussle yesterday at Zandvoort, Camel GT, and also here in the Lotus 79. It's definitely a common thread across them all as we see Bycroft very close. Here he goes. Is he going to have a look now? Fritzsche's really got to hang out tough now. This is the closest it's been for sure, but Fritzsche just has the advantage in the corner speed. And Joe, the main thing is that Fritzsche is so experienced and so clever. He is just placing that car to the absolute millimeter of where it needs to be to keep Bycroft behind.
Yeah, I don't think he needs any sort of floor mat. He put his dancing shoes on and he knows every move to make to try and hold off Steve Bycroft. But so does Simone, who is on the last half of the final lap of this race. He's put it to only 16 cars left on the lead lap, which Barry West is the last of them. 17 cars on the lead lap. So coming out of the penultimate turn, Simone had a quiet one as we got two cars off the circuit. Leo Cotta and Suarez, we'll look at that a little later, one of them upside down. Simone with the victory here today, unfazed by anybody around him, and a 10-second gap to the nearest vehicle. Victory for the number 2.
Wow, what a drive there from Thomas Simone, and what can you say about the multi-time champion Gernot Fritzsche with Steve Bycroft all over his gearbox for the entirety of the race. Could not do anything about it. What a drive from Gernot Fritzsche. And this man, Nicola Kochi, had a spin earlier on and fights his way back through to 4th, and in spectacular fashion as well.
Behind him, the Renault teammates are going to come across 5-6 with almost nothing separating them. At least they have figured out how to use the setup to the best of their efforts, as they really weren't far apart from each other the whole race. Now let's see what happened to Suarez. And let's see, who was it? I think it was Leo Cotta who was upside down. Oh, you know what? It started with Leo Cotta spinning out in front of him. Unfortunately, Suarez tries to evade, just picked the wrong side, and the two of them make massive contact.
Oh, that's a nasty one. Really nasty one indeed. And oh, it all just starts with just one small mistake. Whoop, round it goes. Oh, just not lucky at all, Jonesy.
Yeah, and that was at the very end. So they wound up a lap down from that. We'll come back with the official results in just a moment. Stick around because our driver interviews are coming up just after this. Welcome back to Phillip Island. Even though the battle for the win really never surfaced, we had some great action all the way through the field. Shimon romped away with this one by 10 seconds over the next nearest car, which was Gernot Frische, who had to withstand Steve Bycroft almost every lap of the race. He wound up third in the end. Nicola Kochi recovering back to where he started this thing into fourth, having to pass a lot of cars in the process. Jukka Tolinen was one of them. He was P5, and Karhalainen behind him on the same team was 6. Pauli Partanen was P7, and then you got Seppa, who unfortunately at the very early stages of this race wound up down the field as well and only recovered to 8th. Reverse course for Emil Bernstorff, who qualified 20th and wound up 9th. With Martin Granberg came in the points leader. I can certainly say he's not now, and he wound up 10th.
Dennis Shanning finished 11th, followed by Andreas Henkel, John Stevens, Timothy Reed and Barry West, who gave us plenty of entertainment today and running well inside the top 10 early on. An impressive drive nonetheless from Barry. 16th was Pablo Suarez, followed by James Child, Jose Leocotta, Michael de Turk and Dustin Gilland.
Villeneuve and Tapia Vico, unfortunately, both DNFs today. Gernot Frische with a second place, but how much were you actually looking forward and how much were you driving in your mirrors there, Gernot?
Well, that's hard to say, Joe. Of course, I always had to keep an eye on Steve. On the other hand, I know that he's a super reliable racer, so you never have to be really afraid. But yeah, he had very good straight line speed, so I had to be careful, especially going into turn 1.
Yeah, what about you though? Did you try and trim out the car a little bit to give yourself some straight line speed, or did you put a bit of wing in it?
No, of course. I think everybody was running pretty low downforce. Otherwise, you have no chance here. So it's all about finding good top speed while retaining some grip for the slow corners. And yeah, looks like Tamas has usually found the best compromise. So huge congrats to him. He was dominating again.
The good news for you is that many of the drivers that were up high in the points either didn't show or had horrible days. So this should help you in the championship moving forward. Do you think you can continue this at Olton, another track that's quite fast?
We have a really good schedule this season, so Alton Park is another great circuit, especially for this car. So yeah, should be another good track, hopefully.
Oh, we'll keep an eye out for you, Gernot. And again, congratulations on a podium today.
Thanks, guys. So yeah, congrats to Tamas and to Steve as well.
Up next, we have our fourth place finisher, Nicola Kochi. Hopefully we don't hear Peter try and practice his Italian accent again.
I will not do that. No, Nico, that was a fantastic race to watch. Doing the Alfa Romeo brand proud there for sure. How did you enjoy that one? Nico, do you have a copy?
Oh, seems like he's got to.
We might have to take another. Nico, do you have a copy?
Looks like he's not talking, but a man that you wanted to talk to, Peter, as well, was Barry West, who had a very up and down day.
Barry, that was a spectacular performance. Now, what I want to know is, what do you have the Indianapolis 500 set up in at Phillip Island?
It's just the same setup that I had in, so I just left it there. Yeah, that was an up and down race, all right. I thought I was doing really well, and then two silly little mistakes just touched the grass, and I had the pace, but just not the skill.
Oh, not at all. It was certainly running there with the fast guys. I mean, in a straight line, your car seemed to pick up the draft and really fly down the Gardner Straight. Give our viewers an impression of how you get the car to do that.
Well, you asked for a setup, and Michael de Turk was very kindly gave me a setup because I didn't have any pace in the week. I noticed that they were doing 178 miles an hour down the straight, and I was only getting up to about 170, 172. But then Michael shared his set with me, and that was an amazing difference. Very loose, so you had to be, concentration 100% all the time. But yeah, it was an enjoyable race, although it wasn't a very good result points-wise. But yeah, it was certainly enjoyable.
Yeah, it was certainly enjoyable for us to watch. I mean, Phillip Island is just such a wonderful track as well to go to. I mean, looking towards the rest of the season, any other tracks you've got your eye on for a run at, Barry?
Yeah, we got Alton coming up, I think, haven't we? And that should be good. Yeah, the classic tracks, really. I mean, this one is fine, but the curbs, you just can't, you got to be very careful on the curbs. But places like Spa and Silverstone, Alton, Brands Hatch, yeah, that's the favourites.
I have to say, I'm a big Oulton fan. I love that circuit as well, and can't wait till Knockhill comes on. Imagine Lotus 79's at Knockhill. That's going to be a whole lot of fun. Barry, before we let you go, who would you like to give a shout out to here on the Global SimRacing Channel?
Well, everybody who makes this wonderful event to be in. I mean, it's just normal iRacing service, and we need to get more people into it. So you're doing a great job trying to drum up more participants. So if we get two splits more than once a week, that'd be really good.
Well, Barry, it's an absolute pleasure to call the action, and looking forward to chatting to you again very soon.
Thanks, Peter. Cheers.
And it looks like we have one more shot with Nicola Kochi. We're going to pull him in, see if we can hear him. Nicola, do you have a copy?
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I had some issue with my microphone, but yeah, I was speaking with myself for a little bit, but no big deal.
It's all good. Now, you were in a great fight up towards the front of the field until it seemed like the Southern Loop bit you there a little bit. What happened?
Yeah, I'm just came very recently back to this car, and I don't feel that I have like the whole the whole car in my hand. So I wasn't. I was hoping to be not in a situation where I have to push all the laps, all the race, because I knew that I would break sooner or later, and that's exactly what happened. I wanted to pull a gap to Severi Seppa, but I was too fast there, and the car just slid and left me with no grip whatsoever very quickly. and I could not do anything about it. And I had just to bite the bullet and just to get back and try to make a recovery race.
I'd say you can consider that a recovery. You finished where you started, and considering how fast the leaders were, I mean, do you feel satisfied with it in the end?
Yeah, pace. I think I'm satisfied because more or less I will be being close to Steve, I think. But of course, I'm not satisfied anyway, in any way about my consistency, about my racecrafting. I have to figure out many things about this car, but I really appreciated the very nice, hard, and fair battle I had all the race. So I don't know if you watch from my perspective for a little bit, but it was thrilling. I didn't have this good fighting until ages. I think it was amazing, really.
Oh, yes, we definitely got to see you go through a few cars. Well, again, congratulations on a top 5 at least today, and hopefully we'll see you next round at Olton.
Okay, guys, very very nice to hear back, and yeah, I will be there. See you.
That was Nicola Kochi, 4th place in his Brabham today. Meanwhile, we are going to close up and, of course, give a big thank you to our Lotus 79 community for coming back for another season of coverage. But also, we want to thank the companies that provide the software and the hardware for a broadcast that we've listed on your screen. Additionally, there you can see June Lalonde, and if you'd like to check out her music, there is her Bandcamp listed. Thanks to the team today, Peter, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, check it out at globalsimracingchannel.com. We also have various social media outlets, which includes Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. If you'd like to support us, check out our merchandise store at gsrc.storenv.com. Also have a link in the description below. Very easy to go click that. But before you do, make sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. Up next week, we've got Olton Park, and that is without the chicanes as well. So this is the very fast old school version. That'll be Sunday, January 17th at 11:30 a.m. Eastern. But we have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. Including a little bit later tonight, the PRL NASCAR Cup Series goes old school as well. It'll be Rockingham at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss that one. It'll be thrilling. Until next time, though, race clean, race hard. See you on the track.